behind your words. And let me just acknowledge, as I have for you many times, what an unbelievable privilege it was to serve with your father, to get to know him, also to be mentored by him, and to just live in his light, which was a tremendous privilege. And privilege is not the word for the honor that I have to be here today. Dr. Munzer, thank you so much for your recollections, for your dedication, for your commitment to helping to make sure that L'Ador V'Ador, we can really give meaning to the words never forget. I think with representing one of the largest Holocaust survivor populations in the country, and one that is ever dwindling, as all survivors are, it's just so critically important that we make sure that we take every opportunity to pass on the memory of what happened through stories, through firsthand accounts, so that we can make sure that peace lives in the hearts of our next generations of children across the world. And that's really what Anne Frank's memory and her legacy is all about. It is such an incredible honor to be able to be here to recognize, dear friend, mentor. There are so many adjectives that I could apply to how I feel about Nita Lowey. We'd be here a long time if I went through all of them. But her lifetime of public service dedicated to promoting tolerance and I hate the word tolerance. I'm not going to go into too much of an aside, but we're not on this earth to tolerate each other. We're on this earth to understand each other, to be able to lift one another up. And so I really I should have caught this word when I went through my remarks. Nita Lowey promoted understanding and harmony and peace and education and combating bigotry and discrimination in all its forms. And it has been such an incredible privilege to serve on the advisory committee for the Anne Frank Award since 2014. Given Nita's extensive record fighting anti-Semitism and furthering international policies that bring communities together, and I had really the opportunity to work at her knee, serving on the State Foreign Operations Appropriations Subcommittee, being mentored by her as a member of the full committee. And she was just such an obvious choice for the 2021 honor. Although this is the 5th year that the award has been given, it's the first time, as has probably been mentioned before I arrived, that a member of Congress has received this honor. For Nita, this award, I'm sure, feels like the culmination of a career of many firsts, most notably as the first Jewish person and first woman to chair the House Committee on Appropriations. I not only witnessed these pioneering moments, but I was fortunate to have benefited from Nita's mentorship and camaraderie, and ferocity, I might add, although it was ferocity that was meted out with quiet dignity. Throughout her tenure as a public servant, and certainly reflected in her character, she modeled the virtues of the great Anne Frank: strength, faith, and perseverance. A compelling symbol that has always resonated with me and millions of others in the Diary of Anne Frank is the horse chestnut tree that stood outside of her window, which was a symbol of fortitude and inspiration during her time in hiding. While Anne was forced to remain sequestered from society, the tree was a source of hope and optimism that she may one day be able to emerge from the secret annex. It was one of the oldest chestnut trees in Amsterdam until in 2010, the tree collapsed during a rainstorm with severe winds. It was 170 years old when it toppled over. Fortunately, the Anne Frank House had the foresight to collect and germinate its chestnuts in 2005. And in 2014, I was incredibly proud to sponsor the planting of a sapling from that same tree on the grounds of the United States Capitol, as a constant reminder of how nature's beauty can provide hope and that the atrocities of the Holocaust must never happen again. And now I'm proud to join you as one of these saplings was presented to my dear friend as an ornament on the Anne Frank Award. As a member of Congress, fighting anti-Semitism was among Nita's highest priorities. Nita's legislation, the Combating European Anti-Semitism Act, which became law in 2019, is a testament to this pursuit. This law requires the State Department to assess the rise in anti-Semitic violence in Europe and ensures that the U.S. monitor how other nations curtail attacks and discrimination against Jewish people through programs that encourage pluralism and tolerance. There's that word again. The vital importance of never again is more than just an abstract slogan to Nita Lowey. In 2020, we traveled to Poland and Israel together with a bipartisan delegation of congressional leaders to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz and Auschwitz-Birkenau. The delegation met with dignitaries of both nations and visited several memorials to honor the lives of the millions who were murdered throughout the course of the Holocaust. It was an unforgettable, moving, and gut-wrenching trip that further impressed upon us the consequences of world powers standing on the sidelines as atrocities were committed against the Jewish people and others. Beyond her steadfast commitment to combating anti-Semitism worldwide, Nita took great pride in the wide range of international relations work she did while in Congress. As chair, as I mentioned, of its subcommittee on state foreign operations and related programs, she was tasked with funding America's foreign policy agenda. She ensured each year that the U.S. defend human rights across the globe and was particularly adept at advancing programs that break down barriers in the most conflict-ridden nations. Nita, maybe you left us too soon. We could use a little bit more of your leadership right about now. One of the crowning achievements of her legacy will be the Nita M. Lowey Middle East Partnership for Peace, it was a joy to be in the room when we formally named that program after her. That program created the people-to-people partnerships that bring Israelis and Palestinians together to encourage deeper understanding among our two communities. At $250 million over 5 years, the Partnership for Peace is the largest ever investment in peace building in the region. Although Nita retired from Congress, she has left a lasting mark shaping American foreign policy toward the Middle East by, in her own words, building the foundation for peace to take root and endure. Now, I recently had the pleasure of hosting a class of 4th graders on Capitol Hill to teach them the history of the Anne Frank tree, which was right in front of the sapling that I sponsored in 2014. It's now a sprawling tree. I encourage you, if you have a chance, to walk around the west front of the Capitol and go see it. It creates more opportunities for hope and understanding. And I shared with that 4th grade class the history of that chestnut and its saplings, which have now been planted across the globe and many across the country here in the U.S. as a promise of freedom and a symbol of hope. And we must tell Anne Frank's story to the younger generation to make sure that each generation understands that if we let our guard down, hatred will again rear its ugly head. This is Nita Lowey's life's work and her legacy, building bridges, dispelling anti-Semitism, and advocating for human rights on the world stage. So thank you, Nita. Thank you for your mentorship, for your friendship, and all your tireless and distinguished leadership in Congress. Those of us that dare to try to walk in your shoes really have such a heavy burden to carry on, because it feels like our unity and our commitment to our republic and our democracy now is crumbling. The idea that these kinds of atrocities and the shaky ground of democracy on which too many people in this world live has always felt like it could happen anywhere but here. And that's why making sure that we all step up, that we double down on those commitments, that we walk in the shadow of the legacy of women like you and leaders like you is so critical at such a time as this. And congratulations, truly. I cannot think of anyone who deserves this award more. Thank you so much.
We are